Let's give you this now. ANC chairperson in Gauteng, David Makhura, has lambasted the conduct of some party members at the Ekurhuleni elective conference over the weekend. They forced their way into the venue in 4 ways, causing chaos and prompting police intervention. Makhura has also warned members not to feel entitled to leadership positions in the party. So let's discuss and dissect these events with political analyst Khanyi Magubane joins me now for that conversation. Thank you so much for your time, Khanyi, and good morning to you. How would you describe the events of this past weekend? We've seen different political party members within the ANC. I mean, fists were thrown, furniture was thrown, also reportedly, all of course for this conference in ensuring that their elected or nominated chairpersons actually take the seat.
Thank you very much, Dumelo. I think the scenes that have played out in the past few days really are encapsulated by the words of David Makhura that it was somewhat of a war zone. And if you actually just unpack, the layers, you can actually see why. We've been told that there's over 112 branches that did not qualify for this conference. And if we look at the number of quarantined votes right now, it's 19 votes representing 5 branches, and if we do simple mathematics of 5 delegates per branch, and there's over 112 branches that didn't qualify, that's over 560 people that didn't make it into the conference. So against that backdrop, you can understand why there was a lot of anger, because those branches claimed that they had previously qualified to go to the conference, and this was subsequently changed, and they were told that they don't qualify. So the question then has to be, did this conference really correlate? And if they did, at what margin did they correlate? Because if over 560 people were kept out from the process, then one has to ask, if the results that are seen today are really representative of the ANC in Ekurhuleni as a whole. If there were more people out than those who were inside, the question then has to be, was this conference not held prematurely, if indeed the province or the region was not yet ready for conference? Because there's a process that has to be followed before a branch is in good standing and as such qualifies for conference. You have to have your members paid up, you have to have 100+1 members in your branch, and those have to be officially declared by employees who are sent to the different branches. So I feel like they could possibly go back to the drawing table and actually ask, did we rush this conference? I mean, the fact that we are sitting with 19 quarantined votes has never happened before in my recollection of any conference. There's always either been an outright winner or outright loser. So it may seem that this conference was rushed, and it may seem that there's a lot of questions around whether they actually did correlate, and the number of delegates within the conference actually represented the broader Ekurhuleni region.
I want to talk about David Makhura further lambasting, party members feeling entitled to leadership positions. And we know that Masina and Kagaza were both contesting the chairmanship position. Why was this particular conference significant to them? What was at stake here for both Kagaza and Masina?
Well, let's start with Dr. Kagaza. We know that Dr. is the former MMC for Finance in Ekurhuleni, and he was under Mzwandile Masina's slate, and he served in his cabinet for a very long time. And as such, the two men standing on opposite sides of the fence comes as a big surprise, because they've always been very close political allies for many, many years. Dr. was in both cabinets of Mzwandile Masina, and he has always been one that has always pushed Masina forward, has supported Masina. So I'm not quite sure what has led to this rift between the two of them, that they should now be standing on opposing sides. For Kagaza, of course, this is the first time that he has actually put himself forward as a political candidate vying for the top seat. And it's the first time that we've seen him take such a bold stand to stand for the position of presidency. He's had other positions in the past of treasurer and secretary, but this is the first time where he's going for the hot seat of the presidency. So definitely showing his cards to say that I want this top seat. For Masina, know that it's the third time that he's provisionally coming back. He did indicate that within the ANC, there's no limitations to the number of times a person can stand for the chairperson, position, and that if he wants to stand 100 times, but most importantly, if Ekurhuleni wants to nominate and elect him 100 times, then he will continue running. However, there has been a strong sentiment that the winds of change need to blow through Ekurhuleni. The 2 terms have been sufficient for Masina, and we know that the ANC lost power in Ekurhuleni under his leadership. So his track record over the past few years hasn't particularly been that great. And however, we know that Dr. Kagaza didn't have a strong slate. He was the most member in his slate, and maybe Andile Mgwevu, who was the deputy secretary there, in his slate. But for the most part, his slate was filled with people that have little or no track record in the province or in the region. So that made it even more difficult for people to vote for his slate. However, the margins were very slim, 163 versus 151. It says that he was popular. Doctor is popular, and that the 19 votes that are yet to be counted, and we'll know tomorrow which way the votes will swing. But the region is actually even confident that it may swing in Doctor's direction. So it could go any way at this particular moment.
Yeah, and just before I let you go, briefly, if you may please, Khanyi, I know that Mzwandile Masinya and ANC NEC member Mduduzi Manana say they're not worried about potential litigation disregarding the 19 votes that are yet to be counted. Should they be worried? Should they be concerned?
I think they should. If the scenes that played out in the Eastern Cape Provincial Conference are anything to go by, then, they shouldn't be surprised if the branches that were excluded take this matter, to the courts, take this matter to a judiciary review, because there is a particular process that needs to be followed before a branch can qualify. And if those branches are certain that they did qualify and they were subsequently disqualified, then they could have a case. So I think no one should relax until the final numbers are called and are officially declared. Until then, it's anybody's game.
Well, I appreciate you speaking to me about this morning. Political analyst Khanyi Magubane, thank you so much for your time this morning.